Today is August 11th, 2011. My name is Rosalind Benjet. I am here today with Ruth Andrus, and we are going to take the oral history of Rosalie Alexander. Rosalie, your family lived in Dallas when you were born, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
How did they get here? Can you tell us about them?
Well, my grandfather came from Poland, and my mother was one of 7 children, and she was the youngest. She had 6 brothers and sisters, and she was married to my father, Alfred Settler.
And did you have brothers and sisters?
No,
No, you were an only child.
right.
And where did you live as a child in Dallas?
I lived in East Dallas on Castle. Castle.
Repeat.
You lived in East Dallas?
Yes,
Yes. And you went to school, public school in East Dallas?
I did.
And what kinds of things did you like to do as a child?
Play the piano.
How old were you when you started to play the piano?
Almost 8.
Ah. And you were interested in it right away? And
Yes,
yes. Were you also singing at that time?
what?
Were you singing at that time?
I really began singing
Yes.
then, but I began to sing when I was 14.
Ah, so you started singing. Did you have lessons when you were 14?
Yes, I had lessons then.
And where did you go to high school?
Woodrow Wilson.
And did you continue with piano and singing in high school?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so did you have other interests other than piano and singing in high school?
Not many.
Not many. And after high school, what did you decide to do?
I went to college at SMU.
At SMU? And you studied music?
Yes, I did.
And were you a vocal music major or a piano major?
I was a music major.
They didn't specialize in those days.
Yes, they did, but I was primarily interested in piano then.
Yes.
And then I changed and decided to be a singer. And I studied voice.
So you studied voice at SMU?
Yes, with Mac Harold.
Mac Harold?
Who had been at the Metropolitan Opera.
Yes. And You continued to study with him throughout college?
Yes.
Yes. And when you graduated, what did you decide to do then?
I decided to go to New York and study voice
To study voice in New York?
in New York with Barry and Freshall. And then my best teacher was not at school, but was privately with
So your best teacher was a private instructor, not affiliated with a school?
no, she wasn't. And her name was Marion.
And were you affiliated with a school when you were in New York?
No, I really wasn't. I just had
You just had
private
private
lessons.
instructions, yes. What operatic roles did you enjoy singing?
I sang Mozart opera.
Mostly Mozart.
And Fresquita and Carmen.
Ah.
And I like to sing.
And-
Roles that were not opera,
Right.
that like Bach arias and
Let's go back to Dallas now for a couple minutes.
sure,
And you were born in what year?
1938.
1938. And did your family belong to a synagogue?
Yes, we belong to Temple Emmanuel.
Yes. And what was the extent of your family's participation at Temple Emmanuel?
Well, attending services.
And did your family celebrate Jewish holidays at home?
Yes, but mostly at Temple.
Mostly at Temple. And did your parents belong to Jewish organizations other than Temple?
No,
No, that was their major interest and your focus in the Jewish community.
that's right.
Did you attend Sunday school?
Yes,
Did you enjoy it?
yes.
Yes. What was it like in those days at Temple?
Well, there was anything you wanted to do.
So they had musical programs,
Yes,
spiritual.
we did.
Yes. Was there a choir then?
Yes, there was a choir.
And did you sing with the choir?
Yes, I was the head of the choir.
And let's now go back to New York.
Okay.
Okay. So you continued to study with private individuals,
with Margaret Hoswell.
Margaret Hoswell, and how long did you continue to study in New York?
9 years.
Ah,
And also, I became a soloist at Temple Emmanuel in New York.
ah. So you were singing at Temple Emmanuel in New York for services,
Yes.
and did you do any other solo work at that time?
I was a soloist in New York,
Ah,
and I was I continued to do that for 9 years.
ah,
And when my parents became ill, I moved back to Dallas.
and when you moved back to Dallas, what did you do then?
I taught school.
Ah, where? Do you recall the school? You were teaching music?
I was teaching privately,
Ah,
not affiliated with the school.
I see. So you had students privately,
Yes,
in voice
yes, and piano.
and piano. And how did you enjoy teaching?
I liked it, but not as much as
As performing,
right.
right?
I preferred performance.
Performance. Now, when you came back to Dallas, did you go back to Temple and participate in their choir?
Yes, I did.
And the choir was very large then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and I love to sing there.
Any favorite pieces that you sang in choir?
Any favorite what?
Any favorite pieces of music that you liked singing in choir?
Oratorios mainly, like Judas Maccabeus. And some other oratorios.
And how did you meet your husband?
Well, we knew each other, but we didn't date until several years after I came back home.
Okay. What year was it when you came back home?
That is a difficult question.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can think about that. Well, I was gone for 9 years. So I came back and we began to date in
Did you have a long courtship?
About 4 or 5 years.
Oh, that's pretty long.
It was.
Mm-hmm. He was one of those men who didn't want to commit?
Right.
But then when you decided to get married, where did you live when you got married?
We lived in the in the in the in the
Well, let's go back and think about where you got married.
we got married in the chapel at Temple Emmanuel.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And what year was that? Do you recall?
It was 19.
Well, we can check with the dates.
I just can't think of the year right now.
We can check on that. And you continued to sing in the choir.
I did.
Mm-hmm. And during this time, Dallas changed from what it was like when you were a child. How do you think the city changed?
Well, it seemed like a small town, though it wasn't.
And how about the Jewish community? Did that change as well?
Oh, indeed it did.
And how was that?
It became a major city.
It certainly did. And how did the arts change? Did they change in Dallas?
What?
The arts.
Yes.
Have you been to see the new opera house?
No, I haven't.
If you've seen pictures of it,
Yes, I have, but I haven't seen the new building.
Do you think Dallas
But
will?
I spent a lot of time at the Meijer.
Yes. Which is outstanding.
I went to concerts every week at the Meijer.
Yes. And what contacts have you maintained with the Jewish community? Anything that you've continued to be interested in?
What else did I continue to do?
Temple?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you have anything that you would like to add? She said, which rabbi married you and your husband?
Rabbi Klein
Rabbi Klein?
and Rabbi Benjet.
Both of them.
Yes, we had.
They made sure it was going to stick, right?
That's true.
Anything else? Yeah, we don't. Anything that you would like to add that we haven't talked about? Because we don't want to make you tired.
I just wish I could think of more right now.
That's okay. We'll come back another time. But thank you.
You don't have to leave.
We can stay and visit a little bit.
Do you have more questions to ask?
Not right now. Thank you.
Say it again. Hang on.
70th birthday.
Jimmy Alexander getting an honor when Rabbi Zimmerman was inaugurated in Cincinnati. Honey Bear in the middle, looking very proud. And beautiful Rosalie singing.
Singing at Jimmy's 70th birthday.
Singing at Jimmy's
At
70th
the Colombian
birthday.
Club.
Singing at the Colombian Club, which is no longer in existence in 2011.